All right, welcome everyone to the second community meeting for the Murchison Choice Neighborhood Plan. Thank you all for being here. Looks like we have over 40 people in the room, and I'm going to continue to let people in as they arrive. I'm going to be muting everyone until we have a chance to do the questions. So just want to let everybody know if there will be 2 or 3 points throughout the presentation, we will open it up for dialogue and questions. But for the majority of the presentation, we're going to keep everybody on mute just so it doesn't get too crazy. So I'm going to let a couple additional people in here, and then we're going to get rolling in just a minute. I see Kim Williams walking around out there, and I know Kim is going to do our welcome in a minute or two here. So I'm going to let her get settled, and we will get started very shortly. Thank you, everyone. All right, so before we get started, I just wanted to make sure that Councilman DJ Hare was not currently on the call. I know he's going to be dropping in, and he wanted to say hello to all of us. I don't see his name on the list. I think he'll probably be stopping in here shortly. Okay, getting something that says the sound's a little muffled, so let me see what I can do here. Okay, all right. We are going to roll through all the technical difficulties of tonight using a variety of different softwares and platforms to make this thing happen. But I'm gonna pass it over to Ms. Kim Williams, who's one of our community ambassadors. Kim is going to welcome us all to the meeting and kind of set the stage for today's discussion. Kim? And I think she needs to come off of mute for us. There you go.
Hello there. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Williams. I want to thank you all for attending. I'm excited. Over 40 people are here. That's wonderful. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why I wanted to be involved in the project. And it's basically because I live here in this community, and I'm very passionate about this community, about this project, because it's a community-led effort, and we have a chance to have our voices heard and to be included in the decisions that will affect our living area and our community and our neighborhoods and our children and possibly our children's children. And I want to take some responsibility. So that's why I'm basically involved. I want to talk a little bit about the Choice Neighborhood Plan and why it's important. Fayetteville was one of 11 cities in the U.S. to win the Choice Neighborhood Planning grant, which I think is awesome. A community-led effort, as I said before, to create a better quality of life. So we're looking to help identify potential catalytic game-changing people, housing, neighborhood project ideas. So today's meeting, we're going to provide background on the process of what we've heard so far. We're going to also provide an opportunity to help define a vision based on the neighborhood's rich past, while we're ensuring a livable present and a vibrant future, all in one. So we also want to utilize interactive polling, which will be explained to you during the meeting, possibly by Adam. And I'm going to now pass it on to Adam.
Thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate you and all that you're doing for this project, and all the rest of the ambassadors. They're actually on site right now in Murchison townhouses, helping residents get connected to the meeting. So we're passing out laptops. We have a Wi-Fi bus there. So it was really important for us to make sure that everyone has a seat at the table and everyone is involved. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of move us forward here. As Kim mentioned, we're really going to be giving a background on the process and what Choice Neighborhoods is all about. And then we're going to, in the second half of the meeting, we're really going to move into a series of visioning questions where we can get feedback from you about some of the things you want to see happen in the community, but also thinking about the past, the present, and the future. So just to kind of get us started here, again, for those that don't know me, my name is Adam Rosa. I'm an urban planner with Collabo Planning and Design. We're based in Chicago. And I've had the opportunity to serve a number of different neighborhoods and communities across the country through the Choice Neighborhoods program. So you can see some of the places that I've been able to travel on the screen here. Obviously Fayetteville. I'm currently working in Easton, Pennsylvania. I've worked in Huntington, West Virginia, Brownsville and Austin, Texas, Flint, Michigan, which was a very challenging project. It was right in the middle of the water crisis when that was happening in Flint. We worked with residents there to try to figure out how to turn crisis into opportunity. Worked at Shreveport and Mobile, Alabama, and Rockford, Illinois was the first Choice neighborhood effort that I've been involved in. So my role in the project is really to be a facilitator and a resource to the community. I'm not here to tell you what should happen or what we should do. I'm here to introduce ideas and work with you all to make sure that your ideas are brought forward into the plan. So what we're going to do now is I want to give you all a second to connect in with our polling software that we're going to use here tonight. So it is called Mentimeter. And the way that you can participate is you can either go on your computer or your phone and open a new browser window. You go to www.menti.com and then you enter the code 27776698. So I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to kind of get this up and running. Once you're on that website, you'll see the presentation either on your phone or on the browser window that you open. And this will give you a chance to answer questions in real time and to provide us feedback for the presentation. So I'm gonna play a song for a few minutes here, and this is one that Kim suggested was a good way to kick off the meeting. And then once the song's finished, we'll move on to the first polling question.
Listen, listen, while the storm in your heart is raging. Listen, listen, listen. Listen, listen to the echoes of martyrs praying. Listen, listen, listen. Listen, brothers and sisters, listen, listen, listen. I swear we'll never find a way to where we're going all alone. Don't take your eyes off the road. Can you hear the bells ring out? Speak now. Speak now. Can you hear the angels sing low? Speak now, speak now. Listen, listen to the message of hope and the whispers of ghosts. Listen, listen. Listen, for the children will grow on the seeds that we sow. They listen, they listen. Oh, listen. Brothers and sisters, listen, listen. I swear we'll never find a way to where we're going all alone. Don't take your eyes off the road. Can you hear the bells ring out? Speak now, speak now. Can you hear the angels cry out? Speak now, speak now. Don't you hold your tongue. Speak now, speak now, speak now. Oh, can you hear the angels? Speak now, speak
That was a beautiful song. I'd never heard that one before until Kim turned me on to it this morning, and she said, you got to play this during the meeting. It's a great way to set the tone. So while we were having the song going and everybody was logging on to menti.com, we had probably 7 or 8 additional people join us. And I believe I saw Councilman DJ Hare step into the room, the virtual room. So Councilman Hare, would you like to give us a little bit of a welcome here to the group? And I believe you're on mute if you're trying to speak.
Okay, what about that?
Sounds loud and clear.
Okay, thanks everybody. And I'm just tuning in, so I don't know how far you've gotten, if you've gotten far at all. I was over at the university just trying to let everyone know that it is a virtual 100%, than at first telling us that we would have the opportunity of being in person and virtual. So hopefully I've texted a number of people, emailed a number of people to let them know. Once again, thanks everyone that is tuning in today. This afternoon, you are going to hear some very, very good news for our Murchison Road corridor. Those of you that know me, that I have been a drum major for Murchison Road corridor for quite some time. For many, many years, if I remember correctly, we go back to when FSU was wanting to have stores and shops and a place for the students to go eat and buy different things. And the city of Fayetteville happened to own the land there at the corner of Murchison Road and Filter Plant. And we came together with the chancellor at that time, Chancellor McLeod, and with citizens in the neighborhood. We had meetings just like we're having now, except those meetings were more in person. And Bronco Square was the idea that was birthed back at that time. And then what was birthed was University Place apartments for the students there at Murchison Road and Langdon Street. And also maybe a mile up the road, the Fayetteville State Business Center was born on Murchison Road, which is now, that building has now been purchased by WIDU Radio. So we've got a lot that has taken place. The CARES Act money has improved a lot of small businesses on the Murchison Road corridor, to include the Tucker Building, the Butler Building, the Sophie Pierce Associates, and a number of other buildings that I can't quite remember them all. A little later on, we had contact with the Circle K people, owners, and that's when the Circle K was developed at the corner of Murchison Road and Pamela. And of course, our major partnership of renovation of Murchison Road and Pamela at the, used to be called the Pamela Plaza, where the former Walmart store is. So the birth and the growth, though it is slow, has been steady and forward. I am so happy with what we are getting ready to do now with Choice Neighborhoods at the corner or at the intersection of Rosemary and Murchison Road. The Department of Transportation is already talking to business owners, and I've been on a couple of those meetings of the great improvements that's going to take place from there back to Fort Bragg, city limits back to 295. And it's just a great, a lot of things that are taking place. I give a big shout out, a big thumbs up to our sitting council, our sitting mayor. We have all been on one accord. It feels good now, not having to have such a strong voice. Every council member that also is a part of a district of for the Murchison Road corridor, three of us that are district representatives, and our state folk and Cumberland County. I even spoke to Commissioner Adams just before I came on. So this is a great opportunity. And as we have done in all the years past, it has been a collaborative effort with the citizens and the project. So this is nothing new. We have always wanted to have input from our community. We will always do that on my watch or whenever the Lord, sends me on to do something else. We will always embark on hearing what it is that the citizens have to say. So that's what this meeting is about. I'm going to sit back and I'm just going to listen. And we thank everyone for participating today and being a part. Sorry for the little confusion a little bit about website. I mean, virtual versus in person, but we all kind of knew that eventually that's where it would head, just with the rise in COVID. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll turn it back over to Adam, our consultant, and he's going to tell us some great things. Adam, I turn it back over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Council Member. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts with us. I also want to acknowledge Councilwoman Ingram is on the call. Councilwoman Ingram, would you like to say hello to the group before we move forward? All right. Well, I guess she will be choosing to remain quiet at this point. If you'd like to say a few words later on in the meeting, just let me know. I'm going to go ahead and get us moving here on the presentation. So if you were joining us in the last few minutes, what we're going to have is a way for people to interact with the presentation through polling. And the way to do that is to go to www.menti.com, put in the code 27776698. So we're going to do a little test question here just to get us started. So everyone can take a shot at this one. So it should be on your phone. You can open up a new browser window if you're on a computer and put in that code. You can see it at the top of the screen, menti.com 27776698. And while we do this, so as you answer the question, it will in real time show us where everybody's coming from that are here today at the meeting. So while we do this, I'm going to play another song, and hopefully people are able to kind of join in here and vote on some of these questions.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long.
And I've heard that my internet connection may be breaking up a little bit, so I'm going to try to switch to another network real fast here. So everybody bear with me. All right, I'm back. Hopefully that sounds better to everybody. Can everyone hear me here? All right, let me just all right, I'm gonna stop my share real quick. Just want to get a thumbs up that everybody can hear me. I think my connection was a little off there. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate that. So I'm gonna come back to the presentation, and if you're able, go to menti.com and please vote on the first question. All right, we are back. So if you go to menti.com, put in the code 27776698, it'll ask you this question. You can vote on the question. I'm going to do it myself as well.
Adam, this is Michelle.
Mhm.
It seems like when we go to Menti and we type in the code, it doesn't populate the question,
Oh, I see
but
that.
instead it gives us the picture that you gave us on the previous slide.
Yeah, thank you for
The barcode.
sharing that. Let me see if I can restart it, and we'll get it going again. Thanks for everyone's patience.
It works now.
All right, I think we're working now. So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward. There we go. All right, sorry for the technical hiccups, everybody. We're all working through this together. So if you can go ahead and vote on whether you live in the Murchison community or you live outside of the Murchison community.
A long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. I don't know what's up there.
All right, so it looks like with about 29 votes in, plus some people in the chat, we have about 31% live in the Murchison community. About 69% live outside of the community, but probably are partners, or they work in the community, or they're interested in the well-being of the Murchison neighborhood. So thank you for sharing that information. So I'm going to go kind of move forward here. So the goals of the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative is really, you can think about it like a three-legged stool. So you have housing, which in this case is the Murchison townhouse property, but also the other housing in the larger Murchison neighborhood. You have the neighborhood element, which are things like parks, transportation, local businesses, places where people gather. And then you have the people element, which is what makes this program really unique. It's the supportive services that are going to help connect residents to opportunity. So all three of these bubbles come together to form the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative. The team that is focused on this for Fayetteville is led by FMHA, the Fayetteville Metropolitan Housing Authority, with the city of Fayetteville as a kind of a co-partner in this process. I'm with Collabo. We're the planning coordinator. We're working to, like I said, facilitate and be a resource to the residents of the community. We have our community ambassadors, who I'm going to introduce in a moment here. And then we have our steering committee, which I see many members that are here today. The steering committee is made up of partners and different stakeholders of the larger Murchison community that are really going to be our sounding board for the ideas that we come up with, to make sure that they're realistic and that we can implement that as part of the plan. So our community ambassadors, we put out a call a few months back for residents that are interested in being part of the team, receiving a stipend for their time and their energy and their effort. And we've selected 5 community ambassadors. You can see them on the top of the screen here. You already met Miss Kim Williams. The ambassadors include residents of not only the Murchison townhouse property, but the larger Murchison neighborhood as a whole. So we are really excited to have the ambassadors as a resource as we move forward in the planning process. I also want to recognize Miss Lassiter, who's a volunteer, and she's been at many of our meetings as well. So starting in September, we're going to be holding leadership training sessions with the ambassadors to continue to build their capacity to really become the champions of this plan. This is not an FMHA plan. It's not a City of Fayetteville plan. It's definitely not a Collabo plan. It's a resident community plan for the Murchison corridor. So we need the residents to really take ownership in a way that is really sustainable to move this project forward. So the project area essentially extends from just south of Fayetteville State University, around Cumberland Street, all the way north past Lake Pines Swim Club and the former Walmart Center, just past Country Club Drive. On the east and west, it's bounded by Cross Creek and Little Cross Creek, kind of natural boundaries. And within the neighborhood itself, we have about 6,800 residents within the 3-mile area. There's a number of different schools, obviously FSU, but also E. Smith High School, Ferguson Easley Elementary, West Area Elementary. And this area is designated as a federal opportunity zone, which means there are tax rebates that can happen for certain types of businesses and organizations that want to open up in this area. It's also a neighborhood revitalization strategy area, which is another kind of HUD designation. The city of Fayetteville went through a process a couple of years back saying, we want to focus reinvestment in this particular part of town, and we're going to designate this an NRSA. So we also want to recognize the Murchison townhouse property, which is outlined here in yellow. So it kind of, just to put everything in context. And the townhouse property itself was built in 1970. You can see it here. It goes along Rosemary Street, coming off of Murchison Road. There's about 60 units of housing, along with a Head Start Center on site. So our goal, and the goal of Choice Neighborhoods, is to think about rebuilding or replacing the existing public housing with mixed income housing. either on site, elsewhere in the neighborhood, or elsewhere in opportunity areas within the city of Fayetteville. So we're going to be working, especially over the next few months, on starting to develop that housing strategy and thinking about how we can really put those pieces together. So this is another just outline or a diagram that shows the process. The townhouses are at the center. We have the neighborhood improvements that kind of wrap around, and then all of the people projects that are going to really support not only FMHA residents, but residents of the wider neighborhood. The process is 2 years. We kicked it off really earlier this year in 2021. We'll go through December of 2022. And right now we're really in the second bubble, the visioning for the future. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about the early action project. As we get into the late fall and early winter, we'll be doing the strategies where we will be creating working groups and getting down to business to really identify specific projects. These will all come together in the people housing neighborhood elements, the draft plan about halfway through next year, and then the final plan in the late fall of next year. So we have some time to put this all together, but there's a lot of work to be done, and we need all your help to make sure it's a success. So I'm going to stop there for a minute or two and just kind of open it up to questions about the process and about the goals. And then from there, we're going to roll it into some activities that really get to the heart of the visioning for the future of the community. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my my screen here. And if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat or go ahead and unmute yourself, and you can go ahead and ask your question, or if you have a specific comment you want to share with the group. And there will be opportunity at the end of the presentation for additional questions once we really get going here. All right, so the first one that I see in the chat are, who are the decision makers in the process, from Angela Lewis. That's a fantastic question. So in my mind, the decision makers are the residents of the community, of the Murchison community. So it's our mission and our goal to empower the residents to help us make choices on where the neighborhood should go in the future, relating to people, housing, and neighborhood elements. So the way that we're going to do that is really try to frame these ideas in terms of themes that people can understand, and then ask for feedback on the specific themes and which themes they think are most appropriate or worthwhile to move forward with. And that's going to be really starting, well, it's already kind of started, but as we move forward from today's visioning meeting going forward. But ultimately, the residents of the community are the ones that are at the center of this process. So a couple other questions here. Have we already won the grant, and how much was it for? So we won the Choice Neighborhoods Planning Grant. We're one of 11 communities in the country that was selected as a Choice Neighborhoods Planning grantee. That grant was for $450,000 to conduct a 2-year-long community process. Also, we can use $150,000 of that for early action projects to kind of jumpstart positive change in the community. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the presentation. We also, once we complete our plan, we can go back to HUD and apply for what's called an implementation grant, which would be up to $30 million to start to rebuild housing, improve major neighborhood improvements, and implement the people projects that we put in our plan. But really the success of that next grant application relies on how well we put our plan together over the next year and a half. Okay. Will they bring back the playground for little ones? We have nowhere to play in the apartments. And that's something we've heard from residents of Murchison townhouses. If you go to the property, there used to be a playground next to the Head Start. It's no longer there. We want to look at how do we bring a playground back, but also other community spaces on site that residents can use. Young people, families, and older folks that live on property. So that's going to be one of our goals going forward. Let's see here. What is the budget? So the planning grant was $450,000 spread over 2 years, and it's going to a variety of different pieces. And if you're interested in knowing more about that, please contact Dominique, who her email will be in the presentation towards the end, and we can get you more information about the overall breakdown of the budget. It's interesting to see that a majority of folks here are from outside the Murchison community. What plans are there to do outreach so people that live there are more involved? That's a great point. And we do have more people joining the meeting right now. I'm letting them in, but we are really going to be leaning on our community ambassadors to help to promote, get the word out, have smaller gatherings as we move forward into the next 10 to 11, I guess the next 14, 15 months of the project. We're a little bit limited. Today was supposed to be an in-person meeting. I know some of you may have showed up at FSU. Unfortunately, we had to shift to an online format due to the rising rates with COVID. We just wanted to be able to keep everybody safe. We're hoping as we move into the fall, we can start to have some smaller gatherings again and do some kind of like porch conversations, backyard conversations, where people can invite 10 or 12 of their closest friends over to learn more and to provide feedback, breaking it down and doing it at a little bit of a smaller scale. So I'm going to go ahead and thank you all for the questions. I'm going to go ahead and keep rolling here. We're going to move into the visioning portion of the meeting. And this is where we really want you to provide additional feedback, thinking about the community and where it goes. So, all right, so to kick off the visioning, hold on one second. To kick off the visioning, I wanted to share one other video that we put together that documents our first set of meetings a couple months ago, and it was really focused on assets and challenges. So let me get that queued up for us here. So this video documents a meeting that we held at Bronco Square, also at the Murchison Townhouse property, and you'll start to get a flavor for some of the things that residents were talking about in terms of the building blocks of the community, as well as some of the challenges that we need to face as part of this plan.
They need to be heard. They need a voice.
It's essential to know what is going on and what is taking place in our communities.
Neighbors, business owners, and community leaders who live and work along the Murchison Road corridor in Fayetteville, North Carolina, are proud of the area's rich cultural history and community atmosphere. There are clear assets to build upon in this neighborhood, but also some significant challenges to overcome in order for this once thriving area to grow and prosper. Today, community members are optimistic for a better future.
Okay. So what do you think are the top 3 areas as far as physical challenges in Murchison Road?
I really want to put 3 circles here on the grocery.
They've come to learn about the Murchison Choice Neighborhood Plan, a joint effort between the City of Fayetteville and the Fayetteville Metropolitan Housing Authority to revitalize the area.
We're talking to residents about some of the assets and challenges of this community, both the townhouses itself and the larger Murchison Road corridor.
We have to live here, we have to live here. It's good that we have some say-so over what goes on in our neighborhood.
At 2 community meetings, one in Bronco Square near Fayetteville State University and one on Rosemary Street at the Murchison Townhouses, residents were asked to identify the physical and social assets they value most in the community and also choose local issues they'd like to see improved.
Activities for the kids on site, because we don't have no playgrounds, we don't have no basketball courts, we don't have nothing.
Free or low-cost mental health therapy and financial education.
Mikey,
Learn about
you're off the mic,
finances.
right?
Wow, there are a
Yeah,
lot of
thank you.
needs. One of the things is to maintain the affordable housing. That's key. Also some training programs, some training centers in this area to get people up to par on skills so they can go into the workforce and become a valuable citizen.
The planning team will be taking resident feedback and ideas into close consideration as they begin to organize people, housing, and neighborhood initiatives.
Well, I think it's excellent. I think it's the way that it should have been done all along. There's been decisions made and you think, no one asked me anything. How did that decision come to be? Well, now you get to have a voice, you get to have your input, and I love it.
We're actually looking to build some of these little free libraries in the neighborhood, right there.
A few physical signs of change will happen right away, with up to 19 little free libraries to be placed around the community at locations picked by the families here. But the bulk of the work is still to come. How do you improve housing for such a large number of people? What location is best? Do you improve or tear down and rebuild?
As all of our areas like this, if they're blighted or lower income or anything that needs some attention, if we don't deal with that, I mean, nobody progresses. The city and the county don't progress that way. You know, we have to do it all, bring everybody up at the same pace, you know, and everybody has just some equality and same opportunities, I think is the key.
We need your help in creating a vision for the community that enhances the lives of local residents. Additional opportunities for feedback are still to come throughout 2021 and 2022.
And they will get to see the fruit of their labor. They will get to see the end result. And how could you not care about a community that you helped build up?
Learn more at www.murchisonchoice.com.
All right. Sorry, I'm kind of juggling a few different things here at one time, but also want to recognize that my hairstyle has changed about 3 times during the videos. So just bear with me there. So as we move into the visioning, I think it's really important to focus on these 3 elements: a rich past, because we all stand on the shoulders of those that came before us, and the events that happen in our communities. A livable present, because we need to make sure that what we're doing benefits the residents of today, and people don't have to wait 30 years for some positive changes to occur. And then a vibrant future. So looking forward, you saw some of the younger people in that video. So thinking about what their lives will be like as future residents of the Murchison corridor. So we're going to start with a rich past. Like I said, this is the roots of the tree, and this is really the building blocks of the vision moving forward. So we understand that there is just so much significant history and culture of the Murchison community. And you heard from some of the residents in the prior videos about the Wall of Honor at Murchison Road and Langdon Street. About some of the important residents that lived and grew up in this community, about the churches and the places of worship that were and continue to be important places for people to gather, and FSU and the role that it plays in the larger neighborhood as an HBCU and an institution of higher learning. So we want to hear from you about some of your thoughts about the past, but we also think it's really important to recognize some of the things that were maybe not so rosy. Thinking about segregation and racial redlining. When people talk about the old days where where the entire community was African-American, and we had stores for every type of use, and we had everything that we needed, it was because people were focused in this neighborhood and they weren't allowed to live other places within the city. So we need to balance and recognize the good, the bad, and the ugly in terms of the past. And I wanted to kind of open it up and share, have Ms. Cynthia Leaks, who's one of our community ambassadors who grew up in the neighborhood, share a little bit about her thoughts relating to the segregation, racial redlining that happened in the past in the Murchison community. Cynthia, are you there with us?
I am. How are you, Adam? Thank you. Let me turn mine down a little bit. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yeah, you sound good.
Hi. Yes, I thank you, Adam, so much. I'm so proud to be a neighborhood ambassador. And one of the particular reasons that I am proud to be, I'm back home and I'm on my territory. I call it my territory because I grew up here, just like many of you all, hopefully on this call. Redlining back in the day, and Adam couldn't have said it any clearer. I don't know how to put it any clearer. It was a way of districting, putting us in a district. Well, the lines have been drawn now. They have been drawn. When I was little, we had everything. You guys remember walking down the tracks downtown. We had our grocery stores, we had the dentists, the doctors. Everything was within those red lines because as African Americans, whatever we're given, we make the best out of it. Well, things have changed now, and this is an opportunity for us to we can't do much about the redlining at this point, but we can move forward into the future. I don't know how to say it any different. I remember being a small child. My parents were military, just like a lot of the parents around us, and they are educators, and we were all redlined in this area. So let's make the best of it. There's not a thing we can do about it today other than make it better. All right, Adam.
All right, thank you, Cynthia, for sharing your background and your story with us. And I think that really gets to the heart of what this is all about: creating an equitable plan for the community.
Yeah.
So, looking at some of the feedback that we received at the second community meeting, we asked folks what's some of your best memories of the neighborhood. So, people said the wall, the memorial wall that I just showed. You can see E.E. Smith. You can see Seabrook Park or Chalmers Pool, the community pride, being a Ferger Burger student. I love that. The college student and completing student teaching at Ferguson Elementary, the art community, Newbold Elementary School, FSU. So it's really important to root the vision for the community in the past as well as the present and future. So my next question, I know a handful of you all just joined us on the call. So we're going to use a online polling. It's called menti.com. You can see at the top of your screen, www.menti.com, 277, you can put in the code 27776698. And we want you to think about 3 words to describe the Murchison community of the past. If you were a resident, if you lived elsewhere in Fayetteville, but you knew about the Murchison community, what are 3 words that you would use to describe it? And as you type in the words, we'll see them start to come up on the screen here. And hopefully this goes through. If not, I may need to reset the poll again, but let's see if we can get this going here. All right. So I love this because it in real time, it shows you the feedback. And when words are said more than once, they get bigger on the screen. So I'm going to play a little song here. Kim also said we should play some game show music as we're doing the polling. So let's start with the Jeopardy theme. Oh, let's see. All right, so it looks like there are about 21 people that shared some of their thoughts with us here. Right at the center, you can see community popping out loud and clear. So that really resonates with people. History, proud, pride, family. I see FSU, VIX, thriving. I see neighborly. I see the Black community. I see overused and underrated. I see community focused. I see gateway. I see overlooked. I see historical. I see strength, vibrant, strong rooted history. So thank you so much for sharing those words. There's a couple more in the chat: determination, restricted, minority. So we're going to capture all of this as we continue on and start to create that vision. So the next question is, now I'm going to give you a few more minutes here for this one. What is your favorite memory of living, working, or thriving in the Murchison community? So go ahead, and I'm going to play another song here. This one you may need to take a couple minutes to type it in. You saw some of the memories that we showed on screen from our previous meeting. We want to make sure we're capturing the spirit of the folks that are in attendance here today. So I'm going to go ahead and play another song, and you can go ahead and type your memory into the Menti or into the chat. And I see that it says voting is closed. So give me 1 second here and see if I can reopen it. Apologize for that. Not sure what happened there for us. Huh. All right, so we're having a little technical difficulty with that slide. So if everyone can just take a minute or two and think about a memory that they want to share with the group, and maybe type it into the chat if you can. And I'm going to try to work on that and make sure that we can get it going again for the next question. But just take a few minutes, think about a memory of a community that you want to share with everyone. All right, so I'm gonna kind of read off a few of the ones in the chat here. So we had determination, restricted minority, EES, FSU, Seabrook, Arthur Monk Smith, political activism, protesting injustice, FSU homecomings, neighbors parented all the children, random acts of kindness, Seabrook community activities, attending cultural events, art exhibits, and jazz concerts at FSU, community events at Smith Rec Center. Somebody was speaking about Langdon Street in the 70s where a tornado hit the area. Loss of life and extreme damage is something I hadn't heard about before. So thank you for sharing that. Coaching junior Pee Wee football at Seabrook Rec, 8, 9, 10 years old. So thank you so much for sharing those memories with us. Is there anyone that wanted to kind of jump in and share a memory with the group, just verbally with the group? You can go ahead and unmute yourself and jump in if you'd like to do that in the next minute or so. Ms. Jones, did you want to share a memory with us? No, you're good? Okay.
Okay. I remember the math and science programs, Math Magic at FSU, and the NYSP programs for the youth during the summer. Those were wonderful programs that not only provided physical activities, but enrichment activities for our youth. And it was a very good program.
Thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate your thoughts on that one. Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of move forward here, but if anything else comes to mind, go ahead and put it in the chat. We're gonna record all of this. This will go into the creation of our plan. So now we're gonna shift to a livable present. And you saw the last video that I shared had people putting dots on maps and kind of letting us know about the community assets or challenges from their point of view. Well, I wanted to kind of report back to you all on the assets and challenges, which ones kind of rose to the top. So the number one physical asset, as identified by residents at our last meetings, Fayetteville State University. So this is an anchor institution. Obviously, there's a number of different programs there. There are things going on in and around FSU that impact the neighborhood. It could really be positive for larger community residents. So we want to use that as a building block. The second asset that was identified for physical was Smith Rec and Chalmers Pool. And I think you also saw that in the memories that were shared with folks of going to the rec center, going to the pool as young people, spending time there with their friends and family. The third asset was local public schools. And this area is really blessed to have a number of different schools, including E.E. Smith High School, within the community. So how can we continue to use the schools as building blocks going forward? The social assets. So people said educational opportunities. I think that goes hand in hand with the schools that are currently in the community today. The rich history. And we talked a little bit about that before, of the vibrant cultural history and heritage of the Murchison corridor and how that is a building block and an asset that we should use as we look towards the future. The untapped talent was a major social asset as well, so that there are a lot of people that are living and working in the community that may not have access to opportunities. So how do we bring opportunity to their doorstep and connect them to other things that are going on in the city in a really tangible way? So then the flip side of the coin is physical challenges. So I think we've heard this one loud and clear. The number one physical challenge as described by residents throughout the process was a lack of a grocery store in the neighborhood. And I think this hits on a number of different levels. It isn't just about the access to fresh food. It's about the idea of a grocery store being an integral piece of a complete neighborhood. Neighborhoods that are whole and neighborhoods of choice have things like grocery stores, pharmacies, banks. So why not this area? So that's something that we're really going to focus heavily on going forward, is how do we solve and unlock that grocery store issue? The second physical challenge was poor condition of some of the homes in the neighborhood. So what programs and initiatives can we put in place that will help homeowners repair their homes, help landlords maintain their homes, and help people build new homes on vacant property to kind of infill the neighborhood? And then number three with physical challenge was the lack of other shops and services like banks and bakeries and boutiques. We've also heard about lack of pharmacy in the neighborhood. So just bringing back those smaller things that used to be there in the old days when everybody could walk to everything. Thinking about how do we really promote this area as not only a residential place to live, but a commercial corridor where businesses can be successful. The social challenges identified by residents, the number one was a history of racial inequality. And I know Miss Cynthia spoke to that previously, the redlining, the segregation, how that has played out over decades and over generations and gotten us to where we are today. And how we really need to reframe what we're doing in terms of equity to provide a step up for residents of this community who may not have had that chance before. I think there's also a concern about gentrification and displacement. So if we come in and we start doing all this great stuff, start improving parks, improving sidewalks, bringing in new businesses, what does that mean for local residents and will they be pushed out? So that's a real concern that was voiced by folks as a challenge that we need to address through this process to ensure development without displacement. And then number three was a lack of public funding. And I think this goes back to, really goes back to several decades of people having strategies, people having plans, and funding not being available on the city side or the public side to implement that. And how is this plan different? So we really want to ensure that we can build momentum through some early action projects over the next year to get the ball rolling, but to make sure that whatever we put in this plan is feasible and it isn't just going to sit on a shelf. So my next question to you all is, what are three words to describe the Murchison community of today? So if you're walking along Murchison Road, if you live in the neighborhood, if you are a business owner in the community or you work in a local organization, what are three words that you would use as to tell an outsider like myself about the community today? And don't hold back on this. I mean, let us know what you really feel. So you can put that into the Menti at menti.com. You see the code at the top of the screen, or you can go ahead and put that in the chat. So I'm going to give everyone a couple minutes here. We'll play another song. I think we're going to go Family Feud for this one.
Potential. Yeah. So what about?
All right, so we have about 20 people that voted along with people in the chat. So the biggest words I'm seeing on the screen are opportunity, potential. This is a Black neighborhood. We also see abandoned. I see a good one here, band-aided. That's a really interesting term to describe this neighborhood. And I can picture it in my head that there have been issues, there have been challenges, and the solutions are small and may not have been lasting or sustainable over time. I see in the chat, I see potential, I see decline, I see neglect, I see hope, historical, overlooked, renovation, slumlords rampant, forgotten, hood, desolate, threatened, unclean, outdated, undervalued, an era of danger. So I know that as I started this project about a year ago and I met folks in Fayetteville, they told me that they were told when they moved to town to avoid the Murchison community, whether they were coming into Fort Bragg, whether they were relocating from another part of the country. So I think there's a perception about this neighborhood today that may not be entirely true, but I think that it really it's something that we need to deal with as part of this project. So thank you for sharing your thoughts with that. So as I mentioned, it's really important for us to build momentum in this project. We have a significant amount of funding through the Choice Neighborhood Grant that we can use for what they call early action projects, which are things that we can get going during the 2-year planning process. And right now we're focused on 2 main projects that really are intertwined. The first is a little free library program. You've probably seen these things in other places in the city, or if you've traveled in other locations. They look like large mailboxes, or I think somebody said today, bird feeders, large installations within the neighborhood where you can have people can come and they can take a book, they can leave a book. The libraries could be decorated and unique to each neighborhood. So we're looking to install up to 19 little free libraries within the Murchison community, because we think this is not only a good way to get people resources, just in terms of we can use this for planning materials related to this. We can use it for people to drop off surveys, but also once the plan is complete, these can live on as locations for young people, for families to get books just a block or 2 from their homes. So we're moving forward on that. We're working through the environmental process right now, which has slowed us down just a little bit, but we're really hoping to, by the end of the year, make some significant progress on the little free libraries, and you'll hopefully start to see them popping up throughout the community. And we want them to be designed and painted by local youth as art projects. So that's the first side of the coin. The second side is what we're calling the digital equity program, which is really intended to bring free Wi-Fi to the majority of the Murchison community, starting with the Murchison townhouses to ensure that FMHA residents have access to everything we're doing with the plan, and then everything that we're going to be doing down the road. So we know how critical being online is in this day and age. So we're working with a number of different partners and providers to create this digital equity program throughout the community. And we're really excited about how it's taking shape. So as we move forward, we're going to continue to share updates on that with you all. And if you're interested in helping out with either of these early action projects, say you have some background with putting together a Wi-Fi or internet provider, IT stuff, or you want to be part of the little free library program, or you want to be one of the stewards of one of the libraries, or you say, I want to host this in my neighborhood, please contact Dominique Lazo Johnson. She's our point person for all of these types of things going forward. So you can see Dominique's phone number and email there on the screen, and I'll have this up later on in the meeting too if you need to grab that. But we really need your help. We want you involved in not only kind of like thinking through the projects, but making these things a success. So the third leg of our vision is going to be a vibrant future. And I thought that the best way to kick off this part of the meeting was to show another choice neighborhood, Newport News, and the success that they had through their process. So Newport News received a grant a few years back. They've been able to achieve great things. I'm going to show a video here. I think it's about 6 or 7 minutes long, but I think it's important. It hopefully will get you thinking about what can potentially come out of this choice neighborhood plan. And then as we come out of that video, I'm going to be asking you some questions about some of your big ideas, thinking about the future of the neighborhood. So give me 1 second here and I will cue it up.
Once upon a time. Many great stories start this way. This is our story. A story of resilience, restoration, empowerment, and progress. A story that is still being written. It's the story of the Marshall Ridley neighborhood in the city of Newport News. This story is similar to ones told in many aging American cities. A once thriving, historic community, rich in culture, business, and opportunity, begins to decline. A fall that took its toll, but not its spirit. Then a spark of hope, ignited by passionate residents, created a firestorm of change. From that spark and spirit, ideas flowed, not to paper, but into action, with immediate and visible results. Partners, resources, and residents rallied around a common purpose: to reconnect the pieces of this once fractured community, reigniting the pride of its storied past, instilling a sense of place and the promise of a bright future full of opportunity. And that future has already begun. Residents now have 2 new clinics, one in a former apartment unit and a mobile clinic, both of which bring services directly to the people who need them the most. A new neighborhood grocery store offers quality, healthy food, and a community garden gives residents the chance to grow vegetables to share. People who have only known apartment living can now have a home with a yard, a real place of their own. The Newport News Redevelopment and Housing Authority is in the first phase of creating new mixed-income housing options, including single-family units and mixed-use developments with a new community center and Boys and Girls Club. Significant renovations have taken place in 2 of the neighborhood's affordable apartment complexes, with a 3rd breaking ground later this year. This redevelopment means people will have to move, yes, but they'll have support every step of the way. A new case management system will track residents wherever they relocate. The neighborhood's 3 Head Start programs support children during their critical early developmental years. At the Marshall Early Learning Center, preschoolers are engaged in problem solving, creativity, and exploration in an inspirational learning environment, and a summer kindergarten readiness program will begin soon. An Achievable Dreams Littlest Dreamers program nurtures a child's growth and curiosity before kindergarten. Primary and secondary students are fully immersed in STEM and receive priority admission to state and federally funded extended learning programs. Dedicated teachers challenge each student. Tutors, mentors, and resource coaches ensure each young person has the support and encouragement they need to boldly chase their dreams. And a college education is no longer just a dream. A partnership between Newport News Public Schools and Christopher Newport University will give up to 75 rising sophomores early admittance to the university. They'll take college courses while finishing high school, have mentors to guide them, and receive help applying for financial aid. Students from the Marshall Ridley neighborhood will graduate with leadership skills and industry credentials to begin actual careers without leaving home, because the jobs are here. The workforce development initiatives that have taken place are progressive, innovative, and life-changing. Barriers to employment are being eliminated. The new Brooks Crossing Opportunity Center will offer GED classes, vocational training, internships, certifications, apprenticeships, and much more. Participants will leave with job skills, computer training, and, in most cases, a guaranteed job. And with a new state grant in place, funding is available to support the Opportunity Center for at least the next 5 years. Now, hundreds of people can write their stories of achievement and career success in the Marshall Ridley neighborhood. Old buildings are being renewed and repurposed to serve as program sites. A new day service center for homeless adults and youth recently opened in the city to provide job support and meet people's basic needs thanks to a diverse network of partners. And another vacant building is becoming a makerspace and business incubator. We just aren't sure the building is large enough to contain the creativity and determination of the people eagerly awaiting the grand opening. The excitement and energy here are powerful. But what's even more powerful is the change. Thanks to stronger partnerships with the Newport News Police Department, the trust, communication, and cooperation with the community is at an all-time high. Officers don't just come into the Marshall Ridley neighborhood to police. They connect with residents and show they care about what happens here. A new Community Youth and Outreach Division encourages young people to believe in their potential. Officers take community walks and volunteer their personal time to coach a basketball league that rallied the entire city. Life-changing relationships have formed. Artwork adorns buildings and streets, some featuring the faces of famous former residents and leaders from this very southeast community, inspiring all who pass to be better, to do better, and to dream bigger. King Lincoln Park is again becoming a place where families can play and couples can dance under the stars. The beautiful new boardwalk lets people access a once-forgotten beach. The Marshall Ridley neighborhood is on the rise. A sense of place is being restored. Everything is here: the jobs, the plan, the resources, and a community that has proven it's ready for sustained change. There is clear momentum and visible results. Residents are engaged, empowered, and eager for more. City leaders, some of whom grew up on these very streets, unanimously supported the CNI Transformation Plan. Grants are jump-starting initiatives, and businesses are investing again in this opportunity zone to be a part of this neighborhood renewal. Communication and collaboration are better than ever. This neighborhood has come full circle by going back to its roots, providing opportunity and purpose for each resident. Once upon a time, a great city revived a great neighborhood and turned it into a great story. The story of the rebirth of the Marshall Ridley neighborhood. A story that no doubt will be told for generations to come. Support from HUD will expedite our plans to restore this fine community. It's time to put the happily ever after on this already great story and make it complete. Be a part of our story. Believe with us. Invest in us. Achieve with us.
I just love that video. I think it really hits at so many similarities with the Murchison community. And it really shows the potential of what we can achieve through this process if we all work together. So I have a couple more slides here, a couple more questions. I want to get your feedback on the future of the neighborhood and what you see could be achieved through this process. Let me just pull this up real quick. All right, so thinking about that video, if we were to make a similar video in, say, 5 or 10 years for the Murchison community, if this project is successful, what are 3 words that you would use to describe the neighborhood? All right, so thank you for sharing your words here with us. I'm going to just pull a couple here that I see. The biggest one on the screen, as you can all see here, is thriving, vibrant, prosperous. Looking to the chat, we have better, we have welcoming, inviting, rebirth, awesome, progressive, revitalized, renewed, stronger, popular neighborhood, a place for growth, mixed income, a business center, a destination, a cultured center, inspirational, community pride, employment, growing, prospering, beautiful, enriched, creative, unifying, innovative, resilient. I love that. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about the future of the neighborhood. So I have one more question for you. So again, thinking about that video that we saw from Newport News and thinking about how do we move towards some of those words, I want to know, what is your big idea for positive change in the Murchison community? And this idea could be related to housing. It could be related to the neighborhood, which could be parks, it could be transportation, whatever it may be, businesses. It could be related to people. So social services, opportunities, jobs. What's that big idea that we can start to build upon with this process? So I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about that. This is our last polling question of the day. So put some thought into it. Again, if you're not able to use Menti, go ahead and put it into the chat. And then we will have an opportunity for people to share their ideas and their thoughts following this question in just a couple minutes. All right, so let's see what we got here. So community garden, change the people here's mind that they can do better and that they're worthy. The sky's the limit. Raising people out of poverty, overwhelming community involvement, using the old Walmart building as a job training facility. That's a great idea. I see Walmart here to the right as well. Flourishing economic structure, educational businesses, development for residents, rehab of old homes to generate affordable housing, community policing, investing in local talent, restaurant shops, etc. Continuing to utilize platforms like this and getting developers involved, preserving the history of Murchison Road, community participation, inclusion in major programs, policies, and areas of involvement designed especially to meet the needs of this area. Business and financial classes, you can't change what you don't know. Empowering residents to become homeowners, community home trust development, safer neighborhoods through community organizing, not over-reliance on police. The issue of the food desert, changing that, bringing in a full-service grocery store to support local farmers and businesses. Murchison community and law enforcement relationships developed. A high percentage of employment, training, and education for every youth, maintaining the arts at all levels, digital literacy for all. I think that fits in well with our digital equity initiative. The stronger we become as individuals will make our community stronger as a unit. We are in this together. Not blaming the people here for the issues they face. This is structural harm. The issues here are a direct result of institutional racism. More action happening immediately with community meetings, friendly meetups. We the people simply just doing it. We need the improvements to start happening now with schools, renovations throughout various neighborhoods. And then over in the chat, we had job training facilities, youth program facilities. So thank you for sharing these ideas. These are going to be the building blocks for our vision moving forward in the process. So what we're going to do is take a lot of these ideas as we shift into the strategies. We're going to have a series of 5 working groups starting in January 2022. One will be focused on equity and inclusion. We've heard how important that is, especially overcoming the injustices of the past. One will be focused on housing and commercial development, especially important for businesses coming out of COVID over the last year. Another will be focused on education, job training for all ages. Then we'll have a group focused on safety, security, and health. And then finally, the 5th group will be focused on transportation and open spaces and bringing things back like playgrounds to the Murchison Townhouse community. So we want your involvement in these groups as we kick them off in January. So keep this in mind. Please let us know if you're interested in one or more of those groups. You can see Dominique's email address on the screen, contact information. We will send out reminders to all of those who participated here today as well about these working groups that will be coming in early 2022. But this is really going to be where the rubber hits the road, where we're all in a room, we're coming up with ideas, we're thinking about how to resources to make that happen, and we're thinking about partners that can be plugged in. All right, so we have put you through a lot here. Wanted to just use the last 20 minutes or so that we have in the meeting for any questions before we close it out with essentially a closing. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. We're all going to see each other again. And you can go ahead and put questions in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, ask a question, or just make a comment on anything that's been shared here tonight. We'd love additional feedback from you all. So I see one here. Shout out to the participant naming institutional racism. You're absolutely right. That's from Mario. Does anybody want to speak on that a little bit with the group?
Yeah, I'm the one who put that in the comments. I just, like, sometimes with these conversations, it feels like people are like somewhat blaming the people in the community. I'm not saying that happened here, but there's some comments where it kind of feels that way. And I just, like with redlining and all of that, we know that these are effects of things outside of the people who have lived here control. So that's all I was saying with that. Just want to keep that in mind when having these conversations and everything with the folks that live here.
Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. And I see another question about putting Dominique's address and contact info in the chat, and I'm going to do that just here in a sec. So bear with me. But if anyone else wants to unmute and make a comment or a question, now is the time.
In that Newport video, they mentioned a lot of the abandoned buildings or sort of the dilapidated buildings that were repurposed. Do you happen to know how much of that came from the efforts by your group or a group like this? And how much was it, their city council sort of putting the appropriate pressure on, landlords to improve their property or to hand it over, essentially? Do you have any insight on that at all?
Yeah, I'll have to look into that a little bit more. I don't have the details on you're asking specifically about the home renovation programs and kind of reinvesting in the existing houses within the neighborhood. Is that correct?
At one point in the Newport News, they mentioned in the video that you showed, they mentioned like I guess some abandoned buildings that were going to be repurposed into training centers or into places where folks will be doing like I think they said some kind of concept kitchen and things like that.
Right.
So I know we've got a lot of, you know, big old empty buildings around town. I'm just curious whether or not that was an effort initiated by the version of this group over there, or was that something that happened sort of outside of it?
Yeah, I believe it all came out of their choice neighborhood plan. So they went through a process just like this to identify the challenges and the issues and the opportunities. And then through their effort and through their ability to get the implementation grant, which obviously really helps, they were able to move things forward in that way. But I'm definitely going to look into that a little bit more and you know, hopefully I can provide some more information, maybe even get in contact with them. Maybe the next meeting we can have a representative from Newport News here join us for Q&A, because I think that would really be helpful. I also want to acknowledge we do have a representative from New Bern, North Carolina on the call, Ms. Lee, Teresa Lee. I think she's still here. Let me see.
Yeah, she had to go to another meeting.
Okay, she had to jump off. But Dr. Ely, maybe you can talk just briefly about some of the successes that they had in New Bern through their Choice Neighborhood Initiative. Just give a little bit of a flavor if you're you know, in tune with that.
What I can do as well is put their transformation plan in the chat link. It's really a very good read around some of the projects and initiatives that they're doing. I know right now they are looking at some housing. They're in the process of revamping some of the housing landscape, where they're doing mixed income housing right now on some of the properties. They also were able to do some projects around building local capacity around leadership and things of that nature. They also have transformed some of the public use spaces to include some of those features that you've talked about, that some of the residents have talked about today, in terms of making it more user-friendly for families and children and things of that nature. But I would definitely put that plan in the website along with the transformation plan in the chat, and you can feel free to look at that at your leisure.
Thank you, Dr. Ely. Appreciate that. And just so everyone knows, Dr. Ely and Mrs. Lee will be helping us with some of the community ambassador leadership training going forward over the next 7 or 8 months. So we're really excited to have them both on board, especially Teresa Lee, who has been through this process in New Bern and has been able to achieve a lot of successes. So I think we can learn a lot from her about the way to make this really work. So I also see in the chat, somebody mentioned, let's see, another community that's undergone transition similar to Newport is East Liberty in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And East Liberty was also a choice neighborhood plan and an implementation grantee. And they've been able to do phenomenal revitalization work in their community that's really driven from the grassroots level. So that's another great case study to take a look at. Another question, what are some ideas surrounding preventing driving residents out of the community by the potential rising costs of the property values due to making some of these much needed improvements and innovations? So I think what that's getting at is the potential issue of gentrification or development without displacement as a goal. And this is something that's it's very challenging. I don't think any city in the country has really completely figured it out, but there are a number of different tools that have been proven to be successful in ensuring that residents are able to benefit from the changes and are not displaced. So the first thing that everyone should know is the replacement housing that we hope to build through this project it's a 1-for-1 replacement of the very low income units, the 60 units at Murchison townhouses. So whatever we build in the future, we will include at least 60 units at the same income levels, along with additional workforce housing, hopefully market rate housing. Some of the other tools that communities that I've been working with lately have been turning to involve community land trusts, where you create an organization of neighborhood residents to essentially become developers in their own community and to build equity and purchase vacant publicly owned property and to hold it as affordable. So when the houses are built there, that residents who then sell the houses have to sell them to families at the same income level down the road. So that's a tool that's being implemented in many similar cities across the country. I know it's been brought up already as part of this plan, and it's something that we're going to explore. But there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. We really need to think about what works in the context of Fayetteville and the Murchison corridor. Another question, I've heard a lot about the younger people. What about senior people? That's a great point. There's probably many seniors who want to be involved. Maybe they couldn't, come onto a virtual meeting like this. We want to make sure over the next year and a half that we're connecting with the senior population. And the way we're doing that in another community that I'm working with in Kansas City is we're holding essentially backyard conversations where we'll have one person host. They'll invite 10 of their closest neighbors and friends. You pull up a chair, you spend an hour and a half, you have some food, you essentially you talk about the project, you get ideas in a smaller, more intimate setting. But we'd love to hear your ideas for how we could reach the senior population in the community, especially coming out of COVID in such a sensitive time. Does anybody want to speak to that at all about reaching seniors? All right, if not, that's okay. I see a couple other questions here. Interested to know the support from the banks and other loan institutions for lending funds for small businesses in the Murchison area. Has there been any inclusiveness in discussing the goals with the money people? Yeah, that's a great question. I believe we have a couple of banks on our steering committee, so we want them to be plugged in to this effort. We also want to recruit a bank or a credit union to the neighborhood, because we know that's a missing ingredient. So as we move forward, that's something we're really going to be focused on, is how to get them included, involved in a way that doesn't drive the process, but responds to the needs of the community. So I could really see, especially in that housing and commercial development working group, having a number of banks and lenders as part of that discussion. Great presentation. Providing job and training opportunities is also a great component. Cumberland County Career Center as a program which provides those services. So please see that in the chat from Elizabeth Payne. Thank you for sharing that. Question by Pamela Evans. May I ask, is there still room for more ambassadors? So we unfortunately were only able to select 5 ambassadors. We had probably 10 people that were interested in the role. But if you're still really interested in being part of this process and being kind of a key volunteer, we would love to work with you. So please contact Dominique. I think her information was in the chat. We won't be able to make you an official ambassador, but we can get you plugged in. We'd love any help that we can get, both through the plan and starting to implement projects. So thank you for sharing that. Talking more about the steering committee. So we have a steering committee that's made up of about, I would say, 30 to 35 members, including residents, including local partners from the education, from job training. I think we have a developer or two. I think we have a bank or two. We have some of the social services and the healthcare providers as part of the steering committee as well. So we can also share the list of the steering committee members with the folks that have joined us here today. We'll put it on the website at murchisonchoice.com. That's a good idea, just so everybody knows who's involved with that. The steering committee isn't a group that's intended to or kind of like supersede the community or to vote on things. They're really there to provide guidance and help us essentially be resources for implementation. So when we come up with projects like a community garden or an employment resource center, we want to have somebody on the steering committee that we can point to and say, hey, can you help make this a reality? So that's really their role going forward. You mentioned the number of residents in this area. Where can we get a breakdown of the demographics? So that is another good question. The latest census just came out about a week ago. So we're going to take a look at the latest demographics, the latest data. We'll put that into a memo that will be part of this plan, or an existing conditions piece at the beginning of the plan. We'll also try to share some of that on the website so you can see how the community has changed over the last 10 years. I think that'll be really important, looking at some of those trends. Seniors, handicapped persons, maybe more of a one-on-one over the phone. So again, this is where we're going to start to lean on our ambassadors to get out and start to make those connections for us all going forward. All right. So I'm going to pass it back over to Ms. Cynthia. She is going to close us out and just really talk a little bit about next steps and what she sees as an ambassador going forward as part of this process. Cynthia.
Hello again, everybody. Wasn't that great? I wish we could. Can you unmute everybody so they can just yell?
I don't know if I can do that.
Just scream and say how great.
It was great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Wonderful.
It is so hard presenting to a quiet crowd. So I appreciate.
I know, right?
I appreciate the yell.
I could feel the vibe. Anyway, thanks a lot, Adam. I think you covered everything. I'm just going to briefly go over some of the things just to reiterate some of the things he said. First of all, those who don't know me, I'm Cynthia Swenson Leaks, and I was born and raised here in this corridor. I'm real passionate. I don't know any other way to put it about what could possibly happen to the future of our area. If you remember when our neighborhood was safe and we walked everywhere, we walked to Seabrook Park, we walked downtown. It was so easy to get from one corner to the next. Remember Newbold, Washington Drive, E.E. Smith, back when the community raised us. And take a moment and just go back to our rich history and what we still have here that still exists right here. It's just embedded so deep in our culture, and it is embedded so deep around us. So we just have to pull all of that energy back out, and this will give us a grand opportunity to do that. Moving forward, we want to build partnerships. That's the main thing Adam talked about. We have to build partnerships in order to make a better life. Just like we run off and find a partner for life, we have to build partnerships to make life a lot easier. This process, the process that we're in right now, Adam talked about. I forgot how much it was. $350,000 grant. This is a process. 450,000. Okay, this will enable us to tap into those partners. Cumberland County. He named several of them. The city partners, clergy, business owners. Everyone needs to, be informed so that they can rise for the occasion. And that's what we're trying to do, is inform and educate the community as well as business partners. Also moving forward, we're tasked with, I think Adam said an RFP, a request for proposal is out there to solidify a consultant to develop a marketing strategy for us. So even though we come up with all of these great grand plans, there's always, room to grow. So we have to have a consultant to guide us through that process, to make sure that our suggestions, our ideas, are feasible and workable. We'll also be administering a needs assessment survey. I don't know, I don't remember you saying anything about that, Adam. You may have, but it's, through our Fayetteville Metropolitan Housing Authority residents to gain insight on their needs and desires as well, i.e., where we are today at the Murchison Townhomes. This will occur in September, during the month of September. We're also beginning to identify and create concepts for our mixed income housing, which is where we are today, the Murchison Townhomes. And Adam explained to you that they will be completely destroyed, but they will be rebirthed to something that will be great and grand for the community. Moving down the road, first of next year in January 2022, he talked about the work groups. And please reach out, get to know your ambassadors. Dominique Johnson is the contact, so please reach out to her to let her know which specific group you'd like to participate on. Be thinking about it, because this is a task that will carry us through our into our next year activities. Also moving forward, currently currently we have the Digital Equity Initiative, which is just another word, a great fancy word for Wi-Fi. How about that? Wi-Fi. And you can see those changes happening every day, those huge silver poles that are going up in the community. Well, that's going to be Wi-Fi. So that's already in the works. And one of the low-hanging fruits initiative, sorry about that, the little free libraries. I think if you attended the meetings, you earmarked where you think a library should go. I like to call them, birdhouses on a pole, because that's what they look like. But it's really cool how you can put books in there. Any kind of book that you're interested, that you feel like somebody else is interested, a book that you've read, you just put it in the library. It's on the honor system, and you'd be surprised how many books go in and out of those little birdhouses, but they're called little libraries. So, I just want to thank everybody. We just really had a tremendous turnout this time. Please, please, please tell your neighbors, tell your friends, reach out to anyone in this corridor community that you feel would be interested in volunteering, getting engaged. And we also want you to please stay involved, be engaged. Visit the website, www.murchisonchoice.com. Hit us up on Facebook and Twitter, and give us your thoughts, your ideas, and just stay engaged. And also, if you're not vaccinated, get yourself vaccinated so we can get back together again, or wear your mask. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Leeks. I appreciate that. And I wanted to thank everybody for being here today. I know it was a long meeting. We went through a lot. It's tough to do this over Zoom with the technical hiccups, but I think we learned a lot from the feedback that you all presented here today. We want to take this forward. We're really hoping within the next month or two we can begin again to do face-to-face type meetings and continue moving the project forward. But we're committed to it either way. So please stay connected. Thank you so much for being here today. I know it's 7:30. You've all spent a lot of your time in your evening with us. So have a great rest of your week, and we will see you all soon.
Thanks, Adam. You're the best.